So in order for everything to get set up, we have to power on everything. So we'll start by turning on all the ones that are currently off. And after we're finished, we do turn all of these off. Keep that in the on position. That in the on position, they'll turn on. Same with these up here. And then there's one behind the computer. So there are 4 of them. 1, 2, make sure that's just in the up position. 3, 4. So make sure all these turn on. You'll start to see this light up. Start to see this boot up. And then you'll see this. You'll see that start. It automatically will go to camera 1. So camera 1 is in the preview. That's why it's black. So it's on camera 1. That's the preview. So our cameras are 5 and 6. So 5 is in the preview now, and camera 1 is selected. Now we won't be able to actually change it until we can get into the program, but if you just wanted to, you can click auto and it will switch the main camera. Auto will switch the main camera to 5 and then the preview camera to 1. Now you can switch the preview to our second camera, which is 6. And then 6 will come up. So right now it's on 5 in the program, which is red. And then the preview is green, which is 6. And if you wanted to change the views on the device, you can press auto. And so now you see they're flipped. And so now camera 6 is main and camera 5 is waiting to be previewed. So we'll switch them back. And now we'll turn on the Mac. Power button is on this side. You will always power down from the screen, not powering down from any of the power strips, because that's how you mess up your computer. So it will show you this login screen, and the login is come grow with us, all lowercase. Come grow with us. Okay? And so everything is set up. You can see these are still up live. So we will go to the ATEM control, software control, because this program mimics this right here. So we'll go to the ATEM software program. And again, you'll see the same thing that you see up here, just in button format. So program, that's what the people see. So right now it's on camera 5, which is the red one. And then preview, that's the view in waiting, which is camera 6, which you can see. Now if you change something on here, it will change up there. So for instance, if you chose camera 6 to be shown on the program, it's automatically shown there, but it's still selected as being a preview and waiting. So you can switch a camera 5 here, so that's what people see. And then again, this will stay in waiting wherever you leave it. Now, there are a couple of other buttons on here that you can use if you wanted to, I guess, make it look fancier. There is a FTB, fade to black. So if you ever needed to dim it for whatever reason, you can click fade to black, and it will fade it to black to where that's what the people will see on the screens. Now, it won't undo it unless you click it again. So I'll click it again, and it'll bring it back up. So that's fade to black. There is also the auto button, which we used on the switcher. There's also an auto button here in the software program, so that if you ever didn't want to, reach all the way over and you wanted to just use the program in order to switch the views from preview to program and switching those back, then you can use the auto button. So you'll see when you click, it can automatically switch the views, and then you can also switch them back clicking the auto as well. So one of the reasons why you could use fade to black is when we are doing things on the screen in the church. So for instance, turning on the TVs, I only have one TV on right now, but all of the TVs should see what's in the program. So let's say I'm clicking auto. Let's move that. So let's say I'm clicking auto to change the views. Everything that's happening in the program, in the ATEM program, will show up on the TV screens. So that's what I mean when I say whatever the people see. So the people will see in the church, and when we get to it in OBS, whenever you're showing your video, that's also what people will see. Now, using the fade to black, we will be going with some of our media. So we use the call to worship, Decalogue, if people want to give their tithes and offerings, Apostle Creed, General Confession, Scripture. I left blank for the Scripture, which will consistently change, and the invitation, which I haven't quite created yet, as I'm not sure, how I wanted the layout to be. But these are actually just plain images, as the ATEM software cannot accept moving pictures. So videos, it doesn't do those, but stills it can do. And these take up the full screen in order for people to be able to see them better, especially because this directly translates to what you see in the program and what you see in the church. So if we wanted to switch these views, I already added them as the upstream key as media player 1. So media player 1, if you go in media, that's the call to worship. Now, this will normally come up on whatever camera view you have selected in the program. You can see it in the preview too, but it will always come up in the program. So let's say if your preview is camera 1, which is blank, you can click on air and see it, but The problem with on air is that it will select the program and the preview at the same time. So you can see that behind it, you can see what the rest of the background is. So you can still see the podium in the background, which is why I chose to do a camera 1. So that means in the program, if we chose camera 1, it would be completely blank in the background. So let's turn this off. Let's say for whatever reason, we'll put this camera view back. So let's say we want to go ahead and switch to the call to worship. So we know in order to do that, we have to switch to camera 1 and turn it on so that you can see it. But you don't necessarily want the people to see that type of transition because it's going to be very strange for them. And so that's when you would fade to black, camera 1, turn it on, and you see it comes on. That's just to make it look pretty. So that is one of the main reasons why we would use fade to black, is to bring up the media images. So again, call to worship, Decalogue, all of those will be on there. So again, when we want to go back to a regular camera view, we will do the same. Fade to black, take it off air, put it back on camera 5, release our fade to black. So anytime you do fade to black, you have to release it so that it will bring back whatever else is on the screen. Also, to note, in the upstream key, in order to fill it with whatever media, it only goes up to media 1 and media 2. So that means if you have your media here, you can only use these 2 slots. So that means in the middle of service, you would have to use your finder and locate the live stream. Everything is on here in order of service. Now, call to worship, anything that says full screen is any of these images right here so that they're easy to find. You can drag and drop them. So for instance, if you wanted the full screen Decalogue, click it and you could drag it to 2, and now it's in 2 because you're only able to maneuver between 1 and 2 for now. So that's going to be a little more complicated to deal with. So when the time comes for the church to be live and doing maybe a practice run of how service can go, that's going to be something as far as timing, you know, that you may want to think about, especially if some of the scriptures are very long. You may want to forego having them on the screen at first until there is an easier way to do it, because you can't necessarily like drag these, like you can't drag them from one space to the other. And I'm not totally sure how to add more media players to the keys in order to be able to show all of the media that we've loaded here. So that will have to be for a later date, but at least that gets it started so that once the call to worship is over, you can switch them to something else whenever you're ready. And maybe just keeping them here will keep you remembering what else needs to be added, what else is next. But you'll have to go to the finder and making sure that anything in downloads, that you drag it over to documents into the live stream, just so it's easier for you to find. That just, it would make life way easier, which is why I numbered it as well. So that is mostly the ATEM software. The ATEM software also has an audio control for any of the audio that will be coming through. So those are the microphones, any music that will be playing. There is one that is connected with camera 3, and I was attempting to connect the video, let's just say if we did video announcements, connecting the audio and visual to the ATEM software, but wasn't quite able to really complete that. So now you won't have to really touch these values. These values are pretty much set. If anything does needed to be changed, it would need to be changed on the soundboard, which is here. So the soundboard, again, controls all the audio for what you hear, what comes out of the speakers in the church, and also what goes into the program. So the only things that you'll really need to see is making sure you know which microphone they're using, because the microphone volumes you can control louder or quieter, but just kind of keeping it in a general position, because even though it's loud in here, it may be really, really loud on the stream. So making sure that if you do need to adjust the volume, the green is, you know, the color that's around the microphone that they're using. Or the choir, there is one up in the choir stand, and there's one by the musician, and I'm not quite sure which one that one is, but you'll have to troubleshoot if you just necessarily really need that. The only other one I would suggest making sure works is the yellow one and the choir stand. I believe those would be the ones that other people are using. Now, when you want to play music, this is the best control for having it louder or quieter. And if there's no music playing, keep it all the way down, because there's no need for it to be up, because it may cause feedback with the other microphones, especially because there's nothing playing. So the audio for the music will be coming through this, the Wesley Audio auxiliary cord, and I colored a piece of tape to go around it so that if it's laying around, because there are a lot of wires here, it is easy to locate, and it will always be very close and next to the soundboard. So this will connect to any MP3 player, any iPad. It's not quite far enough to go to the computers, and the computer already has enough going on as it is. So just making sure you have an audio player that is separate from everything else in order to play the music, and that will play, and you'll see the values go up and down on here, and that's how you'll know that it's also playing in the program. So when the values go up and down here, they will also go up and down in the audio for the program. And I know we haven't gotten there yet, but when you're in OBS, you will see that this will go up and down as well, and that's how you'll know that the stream can hear it as well. And that's really what you want to make sure of. So you want to make sure that the stream can hear what's going on, and that will be indicated there as well in the program, as well as being in the church. So remember, this and this are for listening for the stream, and then this volume is for the stream and for in the church, but keeping it all the way down when it's not on, and then turning it up to really in between -5 and 5. Shouldn't be going higher than 5, really keeping it at 0, and maybe even a little below that. would be optimal. Just a quick note about the TVs. The TVs, you will be using this LG remote, and these remotes are actually universal. So as long as you're close enough to any of the same or similar TVs, so both of those, as well as the one that's on the back, can use this to turn on. And as long as you turn it on, it should be on the HDMI setting and it should come right on. And this will be over here. There are a couple of other remotes, so if you needed, you know, for whatever reason, if you just had multiple people turning on the TVs, here are the other remotes. These two are for the TVs. This is for the cameras that are on the wall. There should be really no reason why these should be used because they are already set on a specific setting. And if you want to change the camera views, as far as zooming in and out, that's what this PTZ Optics is for. So if you're wanting to zoom in, zoom out, change the exposure, that is what this is for. So let's see if I can back up just a little bit. But if you want to, let's say, turn it, turning it back, just turning it back this way. If you want to go in, forward, and that goes up, which that's super glitchy. And then going down, which again, really the only thing you should be doing is zooming in, which is twisting it, or zooming out, just twisting it that way. So that shouldn't really be done too much because as you can see, it caused that to glitch pretty bad. So really just kind of leaving it like you need it, and then if you wanted to play with some of the exposures you could, but that's if it just becomes too bright in here or too dark. But again, there really should be no reason to use those. So this remote goes to the TV that's up here. So that goes to this TV, our command center TV. So you'll always know that it's this one because it has the green power button. Now I will say that when you start the TV will automatically come on by clicking all of the power cords, the power strip. So sometimes it will make kind of a loud crackling noise every now and then. Just mute it and it will mute the TV, and that will prevent any extra feedback from all of the things that are hooked up. So command center TV, cameras, which don't really worry about those, TVs all around the sanctuary. So now that we have covered everything else as far as the ATEM software is concerned, now we are going into OBS. Now OBS is what all of the streamers see. So anyone streaming from YouTube, if we're still doing Facebook at that point, or the website, anything in this program is what they will see. So if we're switching back and forth in here, you will see that it will switch in here. So we're just gonna do a brief walkthrough of some things that we want to make sure to check that are ready before you start streaming, and when you start streaming, just going through the flow of service. So one thing we want to make sure is in place is the stream key, which the stream key is what connects OBS, the program, to whatever you're streaming to. So it will be in your settings, stream. And right now I have it set to the YouTube, and right now you can't connect an account, but you can use the stream key, which is what I did, and I actually manually typed it in because the internet's not quite working just yet. I mean, it is working, but not enough to quite get what I need to get. So this is already typed in here. You should not have to change it unless you're not going to stream to YouTube. So if you are not streaming to YouTube, it has Twitch, Restream. It does have other options. So it has all the possible options that you could possibly think of to stream. But we're on YouTube, so we won't have to worry about that, which I don't want to change anything. So let me make sure it's back to YouTube, keeping the stream key. Okay, and you have to make sure you apply. If not, it's just going to go back to whatever it was set to. So because I want to make sure it didn't change anything, I'm just clicking OK. But normally you will click apply if you did change it and click OK. And I have heard that you may have to restart the program in order for it to really take, and then you'll have to go back to settings and double check it. So we'll do that now. Go to settings and we'll double check to make sure that the stream key is in there like it was before. We'll say okay. Now, in order to start the streaming, some of them are more straightforward than others. YouTube is very straightforward, as in when you click start streaming, it will automatically start the stream. To end the stream, you have to end it in the program, or end it in YouTube, not actually stopping it in OBS. I mean, you have to stop it afterwards, but stopping it when you want to stop it, you can stop it in YouTube first. But to start the streaming, once you start it here, it automatically starts your stream. And we always have a kill switch just to keep it blank at first. And then we have a countdown. So what we can do is, if we want music, then we'll have to do it from the audio interface with the audio cord. And if we do that, then we will have to add the camera back. So if we want the camera, it's the Blackmagic device. Which one? It's always the device one. Don't worry about this one. That one doesn't work. We do the device. Drag it under it, just so that they see the countdown. And so that way, we'll mute that. That way, whatever is going on in here, any audio will come through here. But if we don't want that, we can just turn it off. But like I said, if you just want just the countdown, no music or anything, no talking or anything that the stream can actually hear, then you will keep it turned off. But if you want them to hear something, whether just people going on in the background or the audio, we will keep that on and keep that turned up. Now everything is already set. So as you see with the welcome, it comes and shows what's in the program, and it shows it here. Now again, whatever you switch to in the program in ATEM will show on the camera here. So for instance, if you wanted to change the camera view here, let's auto switch the cameras, and you can kind of see it will switch it in OBS as well as switching it on the program. We'll auto switch it back. So this will become a little tricky when it comes to the call to worship, because we know that they will see this. So this is what the stream will see. Now, in here, they're not seeing that. They only see what is on the camera. Now, this is when we go back to one of the former videos where we already have the media player selected in the upstream key, because that's what will go to the on air, right? So in order for the people to see it in the church, because again, what they see in the church is not what is in OBS. So again, you can fade it to black, switch your camera view really quick to 1, make sure that's on air, that's what they see, fade to black, and that's what they will see now. So it is a little more manual to have to make sure that whatever the stream sees and what the people see match. So that will be the trick of maneuvering everything during service, because again, what's going on in OBS is not what's going on in the church on those screens up there. So whatever you want them to see in the church, you have to maneuver it through ATEM. Now, we do need to make sure that before we switch OBS to a new slide, so let's just say, okay, they're done with the call to worship. Now they want to listen to the hymn and see everything. Oh wait, they're not going to be able to see the church because what's happening on the cameras here is also happening in OBS. So let's go back, and how you know that, you can see the Blackmagic device. That's the camera that is up here. So if you want, you can go ahead and switch them over to where they start listening to the music. Then go to what everyone else sees. Remember what we do. Fade to black, turn it off air, change the camera view, and as you see, it's faded black. Comes back in here. So that means it's already set. So they can see the fade to black. They can see the call to worship up here. But you just have to make sure that whenever you're switching back and forth, that you switch this and switch this. So that will be similar for all of the other stages. So the lower third is not on all of the slides. That was just a personal preference. If you want to add it back in the Finder, you can find the lower thirds in Documents, Live Stream, and Lower Thirds. And they'll be here, so you can see which one is which. You can change them based on the season. PSD, if you don't know what that is, that means Photoshop. So those are just backups for just in case, whatever reason, those do not come up or populate. This Photoshop file will not open if you don't have Photoshop on here and if you're not signed up, so just FYI. So all of the other slides are set up as normal, except for, of course, the scripture readings. I did not create any. I can create a blank for populating, but otherwise, for now, they may just have to read it, and then if you want to add the scripture after the service is over, then post-editing we can do that as well. But I think there will be a lot going on to start, so if there's no scripture, that may be just okay for now. And again, Decalogue, everything that can have images does. Now for tithes and offerings, again, this is what they're going to see online in OBS, but we cannot do videos as part of media in here. So what I did was create a still that is in the Finder. If you want to make it easier, you can put them on the desktop if you want. But we'll have to add it here in order to switch it back. So just refer to one of the previous videos. Again, you can go to Finder, find the image you want, and click it, drag and drop it into either the slot 1 or slot 2, as all of these other slots are really just kind of placeholders, as I'm not sure how to add additional media just yet. So once again, continuing to remember that any videos that are on here, they cannot be seen in the church. Whatever you change in the church is only going to be through the ATEM software, not through OBS. Also, if you're wondering why there are Blackmagic devices during these portions, it's because it keeps the audio. So it keeps the audio from whatever's going on in the church, because let's just say you turned off this video, which all these other pictures are added here, then you still have the image of the church. So that's why the audio will still be there. So if there's ever a point where they're talking, then we have to make sure that the Blackmagic device is under whatever is going on. So even in the Decalogue, under the Decalogue is the church. Under the call to worship is the church. Same thing, same thing. Under the invitation is the church. So that's going through all these and closing remarks. That way you don't have to go all the way to the sermon if you don't have to, in order to get the last remarks before you do the closing video. Now, closing video, I know that people will be leaving, everybody will be talking, so there is no Blackmagic after that, because this is all they're going to see. Now, unless, again, you want to do it like the countdown, where you have music, you can add that that's playing in the church. You can, you know, from the audio cord, you can do that. Now, if you did want to add just a song, and go to the plus sign, media source. Now you will have to have the songs on here. So let's just say song, right? And so it will ask you to find the song. Say, well, what are you looking for? And so in Documents, I have uploaded some of the music files. So let's just say you want to play Abundantly Blessed. Of course, there's a host of music here. Open. And you can say, okay. And the song will play for the stream, not in the church. Remember, whatever we're doing here, that's not what's going on in the church. So we can be playing music for them on that audio and soundboard, but that will translate only if the Blackmagic video is up. Now, of course, you see that it's above everything that's going on. We don't want that. As all of this will be done before service, we'll put that under it so that you don't see it, lock it so that it doesn't go anywhere. Make sure we turn this volume down, because we want to make sure it's optimized at between the green and the yellow level. Now, they're not going to be able to hear it until you click the settings cog, go to advanced properties, and you'll see the closing video or the song. So the song must be on monitor and output. Monitor and output is the only way you're going to be able to see it or hear it, really. So now the stream will be able to hear this song. The church won't be able to hear it, but that's not really the point of the closing video. You just want something in there just to say, okay, bye, thank you for coming, etc., etc. And last but not least, we want to make sure that after everything is over, that we can shut it all down properly, right? So you can either right click and quit, or you can hold command, that button right there, you can hold command and quit that way. Hold command Q. Or again, right click and quit the program. Now don't quit the program before you stop the streaming, because remember, when you stop it in YouTube, that does not mean that the streaming has technically stopped in the program. So you'll end the live in YouTube, stop the streaming here, and then you can either go all the way back to the kill switch if you want, or just, not hide, but quit. Quit. Same thing with ATEM. Make sure you quit the program, and we shut the computer all the way down. All the way down. We don't need any problems. And then of course it will say, do you want to shut it down now? Yes, we do. Okay, and if you want, you will have to get a charger for your mouse, because the mouse is wireless, so sometimes it will cut out on you. So if you want to charge it while no one is here, or start charging it at the beginning or at the end of service, and then disconnect it before you leave, because you don't want to continuously have it connected, or it will kill the inside life of your stuff faster. So making sure that you plug that up at some point in time, and turning all of this off is just turning all of the power switches off. So again, power switch 1, power switch 2. Both of these are lit, but if you turn this one off, that actually turns off the other one. So you won't have to turn that one off if you don't want to. But if you just want to be safe and say 1, 2, 3, 4, then you can. But that's how you will turn everything off. And of course, making sure your TVs are off. So you'll see that it says no signal. That's how you'll ever know if stuff is not hooked up properly. And you will turn the TVs off separately. Now, if you do ever have problems with that, with the TV only being on the HDMI, for instance, if this is still turned on, but you still see the screensaver, that means you need to check the HDMI extended splitter and make sure that the status light is green. And if that's not green, you'll come over to the micro converter, HDMI, the SDI to HDMI, and make sure that this top button is green. If it's not, unplug this one and plug it back in. That should turn green, which will turn that green, which will make sure that the picture that we see in the program goes onto the TV.